Welcome to Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On with Janice Formicella. I'm Janice Formicella, a breakup coach passionate about supporting others to learn from their breakups, overcome loneliness, love being single, and see the end of a relationship as the beginning of a magical, sexy new chapter in life. I am here each week to share with you the tools that I have learned through my own painful breakups, through hitting rock bottom more than once, and through working with people all around the world to heal their broken hearts. If you are looking for hope and strength to move on from your breakup and resources to enjoy your new life, you are in the right place, and I've got your back. Oh my God. Welcome to the episode, everybody. This is such an exciting episode. And that is because I have one of my oldest friend from Denver, one of my in-person friends, one of my closest friends here today to talk about something that we've sadly bonded over, and that is leaving an unhealthy relationship. I feel like having such a drum roll right now. Welcome to the podcast, my dear Kelsey Thompson. This is so cool.
Thank you, Janice, for inviting me. After all this time, it just feels like an amazing opportunity to share and how we just bond through so many things, and this being one of the unfortunate ones that we are going to bond over.
Well, you know what? To be honest, though, I don't know if we bonded over this. We've come to bond over this. We actually bonded because of living in the same neighborhood. I'm always saying on the show, you can meet people in person, and it happens often when you go out on your own, go somewhere solo, go to your neighborhood pub, get over the fear and the insecurity of going places, and who knows what can happen. Do you want to say how we very, very, very first met?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm so stoked right now. I cannot get the smile off my face. I'm so excited you're here.
Same. I know the first time we met, I was just sitting at Ritual, one of our favorite places.
Shout out Ritual Social House.
Give us some discounts. And just sitting there, and I had recently went through a breakup from being with someone for an intense just 3 months, but it was very intense. Mm-hmm. And I was just sitting there enjoying myself. And I know it's in November, December time when we met. Mm-hmm. So cold outside can make you feel even more melancholy, all the things.
Oh, dear.
And just looked over across the bar at you. You acknowledged after I was talking to the manager there at the bar about my breakup. And you were like, hey, I've got a podcast, all these things. And then it was pretty much immediate that we just started sitting beside each other.
This was a few years ago. And we started talking kind of catty corner to each other. And oh my God, I was sitting in the same spot that I still claim as my own to this day, over in the corner.
Yes.
I was sitting there and we started chatting. You're like, can I come over and sit closer to you? And and we just hung out since that day. We were oddly, or funnily enough, sitting next to someone else who ended up being temporary friends with us. We started hanging out with some neighborhood friends. I actually very briefly dated the guy who we met the same night. I actually don't even think I've told the story of Pato on the podcast before, but let's just say the three of us hung out for a while, and now Kelsey and I are still very, very, very close friends. I often talk about, what was I saying the other night? My friendship trinity.
Oh, yes.
Which is Kelsey, she's right here in my neighborhood, Nate, my closest friend from my ex-Mormon group, and Christine Lalonde, my close friend from Burbank, who I've known also for years. And I feel like I have a really good support network. You've been a part of it for a very long time. You guys, we hang out almost every night. We are close. And we are loving life, sisters doing it for themselves. momentarily or briefly or temporarily, Kelsey was in a not very good situation with a man, and she's now out of it.
Yes.
So good. I respect you so much for getting out when you did. I've also been in a very unhealthy relationship, and I have to say, it took me a much longer time to extricate. Is that the word? To escape, extricate. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Extract yourself.
Extract myself from from the bad relationship. So when you left, I told you, yes, at the time, first, you're never going to regret this. And also how much I respected that you were like, this isn't healthy. I'm not happy. I'm bailing.
Yes. And I got to say, like, you were my number one cheerleader in being like, Kels, you're doing this for the first time, whenever it sometimes takes people a long time or multiple times. It just felt very affirming to me. And thank you.
You're very welcome. And later in the episode, we will talk about things that helped us, things that didn't help us. And I'm glad to have, been there for you. And I'm so glad that you're out of the situation.
Yes.
Today, we're talking about leaving an unhealthy relationship. I think a lot of women have gone through this. We have very unique stories. What was your unhealthy relationship, kind of, I guess, in a nutshell? And then we're going to go into like step by step, how we got into this, how we got out of it, what it was like being with these men.
My relationship today, I'll just keep it MR, is his initials. I guess starting from the beginning, we used to work together. I don't know if I fully told you this before, Janice, but I was actually on Tinder just like looking at different people that had messaged me. And there was this one message that I received that was kind of hysterical because it was this guy that was like writing a poem to me. And the poem was really funny.
Okay.
And I say this because I was laughing with MR about this at the time that we were friends and laughing with him. And then all of a sudden, he just confessed to me his attraction for me. And I think it was automatic of seeing like, oh, wow, I need to get in here and say this.
Petty jealousy. What do you know?
Didn't know that red flag at the time. So showing him on Tinder as a friend, just very casually, because that's the kind of friendship I thought that we had. I thought that we were I could share whatever. And also, he was married at the time, if I could put that out there.
Say your truth, whatever you're comfortable with. You're not the only one who's been in that situation. Some of us have done it. So no shame. This is a safe place. Yes.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. We were looking at that, and he was like, I like you. Do you like me? Sort of thing. Because could this be like a thing?
Cross the box. Did you ever do this in elementary school where you'd like send someone a note and it'd be like, do you like me? And then yes or no. And you'd have to.
Yes. Okay. And honestly, that's how kind of like shy he was almost to asking it.
That's not how I felt about him.
Is the thing. He was just kind of like playing it off as like, oh, Kelsey, I see you in a different way than just like a friend, just looking at you, and just how he's like, from the moment I met you, which I was wearing like a face mask and he could only see my eyes, and he was just talking to that, like, your eyes. And then I don't know, I was just so surprised in the moment, my then friend confessing to me that they were attracted to me. And I have to say, looking back on it now, I think I was playing up to how attracted I was to him just because it felt good for someone to say that they liked me.
That is so interesting. So, I mean, now you guys are broken up. I'm going to get into like kind of the meat of the relationship, but can you just kind of walk us through a brief timeline? There were benchmarks and kind of crazy things that happened, and also like pushing the relationship really fast, changing his life for you, and sucking you in.
I am getting cold chills as you're saying this, just like thinking back. that's what healing feels like, right?
Yes. And I hope that this is cathartic for you.
It is, very much so. He started secretly seeing me outside of being with his wife. Shortly thereafterwards, he'd come over to, my apartment, and it would even sometimes be in the car, sometimes being, having a good time,
That's an
all the
affair.
things. Yes, yes. Really intense from the beginning of just like loving on each other, intimacy, probably every time we met up, like having sex together, because when you're having an affair and you got to keep it a secret, there's like limited time.
Yes. Yeah, totally. And I'm not saying yes, like that's awesome. It's just like, yes, this is what happens. Yes, we've got limited time. This is, really, really intense, and the feelings, yeah, especially in the moment.
Right. And during this time, I was just really struggling with my emotions with everything. I mean, as you can imagine, friendship, then to an affair. So fast forward, all the sneaking around, all these things happening. She files for divorce. They file. Yeah. So this is going to sound crazy, you all. In May, by lease ends.
Oh my God. And he knew what he was doing. Ooh.
Telling all my secrets on the podcast. You all are getting all my vulnerability.
No, the thing is, a lot of people can relate to getting into such messy situations. Safe place. I have been in some very, very, very messy situations. I went out with someone who's married a while back. I'm putting that out there, which I'm not even sure I've ever said on the podcast. Yeah. I have to give myself grace as well.
And that's how we connect, right? We connect in our messiness. We connect in our joy and all of that. So moving into the apartment with MR.
So let's just make this clear. Very, very, very soon after the separation, and then extremely soon after the divorce, boom, he's pushing for her to move in, like instantly.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Super, super fast. And also I was comforted in some weird way by it. We started off as friends and real close friends. And then now it feels acceptable.
It's not just a fling. He's really wanting to integrate me into his life. I totally can get that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I thought it was semi-responsible or appropriate, given that we had known each other for a long amount of time before moving in. And I know that looks differently for everyone. But yeah, I felt like, okay, this is fine. Like, no big deal. Move in shortly after his divorce and are living pretty far, if you know Denver at all, in the suburbs, essentially. So
completely removed from where she was living before, like in our neighborhood where she was well known and comfortable.
Yes, yes, exactly. So after that, we then are like, oh, it's the end of the lease. I want to move back towards Denver. And he's actually on board with it, though he didn't really take an active role, I will say, in figuring out the apartment situation and everything, which we can get into that in a little more detail, man-childness sort of stuff.
Yeah. And I also want to just like interject right here. Anybody who says that their relationship is either unhealthy or abusive is up to them to identify. I would say my situation was abusive, but I'm not saying all unhealthy relationships are. Let's just say this is up to Kelsey to define.
Well, honestly, Janice, I didn't know that it was abusive until after I was out of it. And that wasn't people, speaking into my ear telling me that it was. Like, you always, for example, like gave me benefit of the doubt, all the things of just like, I feel like he was, but how do you feel? And just being out of it, I was just like, wow. There's definitely abuse here. And talking to my therapist and all of those things.
You moved in back here to Denver, and it was quick. And now I have to say, nobody really saw you for a couple months, and things just kind of came to a head. And we'll talk about how you left. Kelsey just moved back to the neighborhood. Oh my God. Everyone is so excited to have her back and have her back solo and footloose and fancy free. And what the story that you just told, I think that a lot of women can relate to, and also the most like chaos from start to finish with this guy. It was never really like, oh, let me sink into how great it is to be together. It was just boom, just one problem after another.
You're exactly right. I never felt necessarily carefree. I mean, you think from the beginning with it being an affair, and I enjoyed the intimacy and all of that stuff. Like that was beautiful. And he's always like responsive with calls and texts and all of those things.
Very, very responsive. Yes.
Yes. Coming back to that later of
yes.
what that
Big red flags. Kelsey, I am so proud of you for being so open and vulnerable, mostly because we are here in this podcast to help people. I've always said that one of my values in life is helping others. One of my purposes in life is helping women, and more, we need to put these stories out there because a lot of us go through this. My situation, somewhat similar, especially in the beginning, how I got sucked in, and then the immediate isolation and the moving things really, really fast. Those who have been following me for a while, at least, know that I'm a survivor of domestic violence. And it's something that I've gotten more and more comfortable talking about. I actually met this guy through mutual friends. And when we met, it was total fireworks. I thought it was just going to be a fling. We ended up becoming a couple very quickly, even though we met in New York. He went back to where he lived in Germany, and just like would not stop when it came to pursuing me. Got into a relationship. He came back to New York and stayed with me, was actually physically abusive during that time. Before I know it, we're only in a relationship for 4 months. He is flying me to Germany to live with him. That is how quickly this man worked. And also, this is how quickly and how hard he worked also to suck me in. I was so happy in New York, like so happy. I just moved back. Before I knew it, I was giving it all up. As soon as I got there, I realized that he was a very, very unwell alcoholic, like deep into the disease. I hadn't really realized that before, maybe because he wasn't in his own environment. As soon as I got there, I'm like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? I think within 1 week of me living there, his parents came to me and said, we're really hoping that you can help him with his alcohol problem. I'm like, wow. Fuck. Yeah. And then, yeah, it just spiraled from there. Very, emotionally abusive. It escalated and escalated and escalated. I ended up staying with him for 1.5 years. I had more of a typical story than Kelsey's, which is I left him and went back, like 4 times. What is the average that a woman goes back? Like 7. And so I just kept on going back. And then, yes, ultimately things came to a head. I will talk about this very briefly later. There was an assault and the police actually got involved. And that was finally what got me to leave for good. I am also very aware of what an unhealthy relationship looks like. I can't say that I'm necessarily thankful for the experience, but I can speak to it. So let's just say that. And I'm going to be sharing more about it as we go along. Let's jump in. We talked about meeting these guys. I think that it's really important for women, for everyone to know, when you first meet someone, you have no idea that they're abusive or that they're a complete dick. What would you say was the thing most that attracted you to MR?
I think what attracted me most was his personality and thoughtfulness that I saw, again, like being his friend and really intentionally listening to me.
Okay.
And seeing that he did that with other people. And
interesting.
Yes, yes.
What a mind
so
fuck.
A little side note here, we're both social workers. So that was another draw too. Like, it's like, oh, wow, I can meet I've never been with anyone in my profession not that social workers have their shit together by any means, but this must mean that he is more inclined to be more empathic or emotional or,
altruistic.
Yes, exactly. Great word, Janice. Yeah, that's truly where it all started, was the personality. And that's why earlier I was suggesting that I might not have been fully attracted to him, maybe physically.
Huh.
But I definitely was just like, wow, this guy's like paying me so much attention, sort of thing. We've heard these scenarios before, but I think personality wise, just getting to know him, and that he actually I felt like he actually listened to me.
Yeah. They do
That's
such
what I
a
was
good
drawn
job
into.
of masking what they're actually like behind closed doors. For me, I
Yes.
think mine was a little different, to be honest. First of all, he was drop dead gorgeous. I still remember when he walked into the room. A bunch of us were going to see Moby actually for New Year's Eve. He walked into the room, came right over to me to introduce himself, and I am like, oh my God. Whoa. He's very, very good looking. Definitely fun, which I came to kind of understand that was kind of a symptom of his alcoholism, because God, this guy could party. And I was into partying I still am, as Kelsey knows. And also, and also, I'm very, very attracted to brilliant men. I'm always going for, scientists, engineers. In this case, he was studying to be a professor, a little different from what I normally go for. I've had multiple partners in Mensa. And like, if you want to attract me, just tell me you're in Mensa, Yeah, so that was the initial attraction for me. And my point with both of our stories being, we just met them like anyone meets someone. This was just like completely normal attraction, and then you go from there. Right? There's nothing when you meet someone that says, oh wow, like look at how he's acting as soon as I meet them. They're very, very savvy, very suave. He was suave, very personable, seemed completely normal. Oh, this is a bit of a story. So we got to Moby, and I had forgotten my ID. I was a little younger at the time. They weren't going to let me in. We're all like, holy shit, like we've been planning this forever. What are we going to do? We're in like downtown Manhattan. I was staying in Queens. And he's like, let's get in a cab. We're going to go there. We're going to get your ID. We're going to come back. We go back up there, hanging out. I'm like, what a gentleman. What someone would do if they like you. Let's, though, transition to red flags, which for me showed up quickly. What about you?
Pretty quickly for me as well. I just didn't acknowledge them because I was so taken back that my friend is like so interested in me, and like, oh, I don't know, these in this relationship, and but also wanting me. And I mean, that already is probably a red flag, right? That he's not getting out of his marriage before seeing me. Maybe
a little
some
bit of a red
people
flag
might look at that being an issue. But yeah, I think going back to before, like I'm just now thinking of this right here on the podcast, being on that Tinder profile and like having him almost immediately be like, I'm attracted to you. Like, please don't.
Jealousy.
Basically,
and
don't be on this
hella
website.
Jealous.
Yes. Super jealous. So that showed up, dang, before he even confessed that he was interested in me at the same time.
Just like in my situation, the love bombing did show up, really quickly. Like within the first week that we were hanging out, he was just like so full on. And at the time, I didn't think it was a red flag. I thought it was exciting. But yes, looking back, that would have shown up really, really early for me.
Yeah, there were red flags, definitely.
And I recall that actually pretty vividly, and some other things he held over your head that I don't think are germane to the conversation. Or, that's complete shit. I will say for me, early on, as like I said, I thought it was going to be a fling. He gets back to Europe, and like as soon as he lands, calls me, and I was like, "Who is this?" And he says his name. And from then on, it was just daily calls. At first, I thought it was weird, but then I was, so flattered. But then, as far as dominating my time, we would talk on the phone all the time. This guy called constantly, partially because of his disease. He was just up all the time. It was crazy. We would be talking, texting, and he would not let me go. I remember a couple of times I would be like, I'm getting on the subway. I need to go. And he just would not let me. I'd go out with my friends, and if I didn't answer his calls, he would be pissed. He bought me a promise ring at one point, and then like the night before I went to Europe, he is blowing up my phone. I'm like saying goodbye to my friends, and he's like, if you don't answer, you can put the promise ring in the mail. I'm kind of embarrassed admitting this because it's so, I don't think anything I do today, but yeah, just like not letting me have a moment's peace. He caused drama with my friends pretty immediately. Like I said, we met through mutual friends. Before I know it, like everybody's parting ways. Everybody is having fights. I ended up not even staying friends with those people. I guess another red flag, I'm divorced. When he found that out, he was very critical of that. And he actually started calling me his little divorcee, which is extremely insulting. But I don't know, for some reason that didn't register with me. But yeah, just early red flags, just, critical of your past, dominating your time, shaming, these little things that kind of seem innocuous at first. But now knowing what we know about unhealthy relationships, these things like stand out to me when I meet someone.
That's similar to me, Janice, of going back to the phone calls and the text messages, getting upset that I didn't answer there in the moment. Like
the entire relationship. I mean, we would be out, and seriously, if he called and we were like eating dinner and, you don't answer, all of a sudden he's pissed off.
Just showing the lack of trust. And he started like speaking to that more like towards the end of our relationship of just like, I have trust issues and all of these things. And
for you,
at the time I was like, oh, of course, like babying him a little bit and just being like, oh no, like, oh, I hear you. Gosh, that must be so difficult. And I think at the time I was doing that actually, Janice, was whenever you didn't probably see me for a couple months. I was, again, like isolating. He was making me feel bad for like hanging out with other friends. But while he was also doing improv and doing that 5 to 6 days out of the week. Sorry to vent there a little
social.
bit.
Yeah, he was very social. And also, I don't know if this is too important to go into, but he isolated the two of us from each other pretty effectively, which he knew what he was doing. So we see the early red flags that we now know. I don't know at the time that I did. I mean, his love bombing was crazy. The gifts were only like going up for a month. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. How sweet. But, looking back, it's like, you don't really do that for someone who you just started going out with. Right. But yes, at the time, this is just looking back. So let's talk about the mid-relationship stage or phase. Things are kind of settling down. We're both in relationships with these men. Did you ever have some like holy shit moments after you guys had been together for a while?
Holy shit moments. Weren't there a lot of them? One distinctly that I remember is that he was super defensive about things. I grew up, just a little backstory for me. I grew up in an abusive household as a kid. Like there's always, fussing and arguing and all that stuff and physical abuse, all of that. So as an adult, I'm pretty tired of that. Like I don't want to constantly be looking for an argument. And I don't know, he just got to that point of it was almost every night or every other night. There was at least one part of the day where we were having some kind of argument, and he hated that I would start like putting my walls up and not wanting to go into the argument. And then he's like, well, you're not a direct communicator. You're not good at communicating with me. And not saying that it's a good response at all, but I just shut down at
You're
that point.
living with him. In the last couple years of my marriage, that is how we were as well. My husband was so volatile. It's like I am just having a conversation, and all of a sudden he's pissed off about like this little thing that I said. And that is also what I would do. Just shut down, be like, okay, I'm sorry, whatever you want. Walk around, not want to go home. All I wanted to do constantly was just calm him down and not have another argument. When you are living in close quarters with someone, I mean, we're both apartment dwellers. I've never even lived in a house since leaving my parents' place. You're in survival mode when you're living that close with someone.
Yeah. And you feel on eggshells, you know. I started to like come home and just feel like, oh, well, what is this going to turn into today sort of mentality, you know? And it got very blatant with probably the abuse starting the first time that I recall. So middle of our relationship, he got really pissed off at something I said. Y'all, I like repress some of this because I don't want to focus my energy on that either, of thinking what caused these arguments. And I'm not sitting there stewing with them still, you know?
Oh, she's not. She's living her best life right now.
Thanks, Janice. You're helping with that for sure.
Good. Glad to.
But yeah, we were sitting like on the couch arguing one day, and then he like picks up his cell phone and slams it, just like smashes it into the table. It cracks the table for how hard he hit it on the table.
By the way, was this an iPhone?
This was an iPhone.
Okay, I'm a big Apple person. Do you know how fucking hard you need to slam an iPhone for it to break? These things are designed these days to not even crack. I mean, whoa. Yes. Scary.
And the table. I mean, the table too itself, the wood was cracked and everything. It was pretty significant, for sure. But yeah, I started noticing things like that. Like he was just not doing well with our arguments at all. And then, but the thing is, MR would always try to backpedal a little bit. You know, you gave him a little bit of time and he would start to just sort of apologize, but also he would then try to talk about like nonviolent communication strategies.
Okay. Ha.
Yes. So the social worker hat would come on all of a sudden, you know, of just like, okay, let's make this healthier and everything. And but
it did not last. I'm sorry. I'm mad because I watched all this go down and I know him, and oh my God. So for me, the mid-relationship phase, first of all, and I think that you could maybe actually relate to this, he was so hyper focused on me. Like hyper focused on me. You would have thought that I was his full-time job or something. I couldn't get a moment's peace. I work from home. He would be constantly looking over my shoulder, seeing what I'm doing, interrupting my work. He would come into the bathroom while I was showering to give me a towel. It was just too much. I stopped eating because I was so fucking stressed all the time. Obviously, his alcoholism, you know, was a big problem. And oh my God, it's such a nightmare living with an alcoholic. The isolation for sure. And those like little jabs at me, like referring to my divorce, referring to my freelance work, being really critical of my clients. And like I said, just like not leaving me alone. I have to say I'm in pretty good shape. I was thinner at the time. He would criticize my weight. Yeah, little things like that. And so then you kind of go in this like cycle of abuse where you have like the incident, then you have the downtime, then you have the coming back together, then you have the incident, the downtime, coming back together. It was constant. And this is horrible for people because your nervous system is activated constantly and you start having health problems, you start having problems sleeping. I developed this really funky eating disorder because like I said, I couldn't eat. I was too stressed. However, you feel like you love each other. You know, you're in a relationship, you're living together. I helped him through some really hard times. Funnily enough, I actually saw him through rehab. And I'm not laughing. It's just like it got so intense. And when you help someone through something like that, it creates like a artificial bond. And so I really thought, you know, like I'm here for him. And a lot of people, his parents and my parents said, you know, like I'm his last hope. I'm the only one who's going to be there for him. If I don't see him through this, like he might not make it. And so, you know, it kind of lifted me up and made me feel closer to him. And also like we're kind of in this together type thing. And so despite all of the red flags, you think I'm there for this person loves me. So, you know, why not continue on?
Right. I can totally connect to that. It's almost like martyrism, right? Like it's like I'm the
Yeah.
only one that can help this person or save them, quote
Oh,
unquote.
yes. Yeah. And I actually had people say that he begged me, saying that I was the only one who could help him, begged me to stay with him. And, you know, this was kind of off the cuff of my divorce. I'd been in an unhealthy relationship with a very unpassionate man for a long time. And so when I'm with this passionate man who's, you know, begging me to stay with him, yeah, of course that gets into your head. Of course you feel special.
Of course. That's how I started feeling too with MR. Like totally relate to that. As I was with people before who were a little more standoffish, a little more like, introverted in a sense, like a little more heady type people that like I was saying earlier, emotional and sensitive towards feelings of life of of a relationship, a little more colder, I would say. To see the warmth in him, I was just like, wow, this is not what I've experienced before. And I think that that's
same,
what
yeah.
I held on to, was just that, wow, this is like a new experience for me to have a partner give their all, quote unquote, right?
Yes, this is such an important point. We are talking about all of the bad things in these relationships. In between all of this, there were actually periods sometimes that were longer than the bad periods where he was warm, affectionate. We did this whole thing. I'm really into film noir. And we went on this like complete binge for probably a month of watching film noir every single weekend, making all this gourmet popcorn and just enjoying things. And quite often, because I was supporting him so much, you know, he'd tell me how thankful he was, buying me gifts and saying, I just want to show you how glad I am that I have you. There was lovely moments. We were living in Europe, and so on the weekends we'd drive to all these castles, got along great. And that is what keeps you sucked is in between all of this bullshit, there's lovely times. Like even better than any relationship you've had as far as the good times go, because it's so intense, because these people are intense people and also they know what they're doing. And that's also why I kept roped in, for sure.
Yeah, I relate with that. Just the simplicity sometimes of us like going on vacations, like after we've been through like these stressful situations, or just the mundaneness of routine life and work and all of that. I think that definitely got to us at times and might have caused some of the arguments that we had and things. When we got to like travel to the mountains here in Colorado and go on a weekend trip together, like I can think of that back last Labor Day weekend. We traveled to Grand Junction, and it was just like such a beautiful time and low stress time. And surprisingly, no arguments. We actually just like listened to the radio, like listen to our music and everything, just jamming out in the car, listen to podcasts, getting in the hot tub, going on walks at night, just very simple things. But it was just like, wow, okay, see, there are good points here. There are good times here. And trying to convince myself, I think, of that and not wanting to fully let go because of accepting those better times.
Well, and letting go is hard. Let's talk about, we're telling our stories, but I think maybe we should talk about the actual signs of an unhealthy relationship. And I have a list. We'll just go through them really quickly. Kels, you are a complete natural at this. We've got to do more content together. It can be maybe hard for people to translate what we're talking about into their own relationship. So let's talk about signs of an unhealthy relationship. First of all, lack of support. I don't know about you, but this guy did not want anything good to happen for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was freelancing at the time. The amount of times he tried to sabotage it and just cut me down, cut my clients down. At the end of our relationship, didn't even want me to work, didn't want anything I was excited about, he would somehow kind of take from me. Negative communication, which I think that both of us could definitely relate to. This was interesting. A sign that you might be in an unhealthy relationship would be if you are overly dependent on them. I can relate to that. Before I knew it, he was supplying my entire apartment, all of my emotional support. I didn't have very many friends after that, paying for all of my expenses, being one of the only people in my life, to the point that, I mean, it got so hard for me to leave because I didn't even know how I was going to support myself without him. Gaslighting behaviors. I experienced this in my marriage. I'm going to do more content around gaslighting. This was a very big problem for me. Physical or emotional abuse. Let's get into this. What is physical or emotional abuse? First of all, humiliation, negating, and criticizing. You don't have to go into your story, but I know for a fact that MR humiliated you publicly and criticized things that were important to you.
Yes. Just to keep it simple, for an example here, I became vegan over a year ago now. And
yay, she's doing so well. She loves this lifestyle.
I do. And Imar, we were out at times with friends, or just even being out ourselves at the bar or something where other people can like hear, just poking fun at me being vegan. And I think I took it with a grain of salt at the time, but I really see the like impact that it had on my like self-esteem, to not want to just pick up that steak and try to eat it instead of trying to see my own way through. And like, this is part of me that I love. This is my new adventure. Yeah. And why can't you be happy for that?
So that's a lack of support and humiliation because he did it in public. It can also look like character assassination, patronizing, name calling, my little divorcee, some other things that he said that I actually don't even want to repeat. Public embarrassment, like we said, dismissiveness, joking. We're not going to get it too far into this, but there would be very hurtful things said. And then, oh, I'm just joking, like kind of, get over it. And I have become hyper aware of this in other relationships to the point that I don't put up with it for a second. And it hasn't really been a thing in my relationships, in the past couple of years, because I just don't even stand for it. It happened to me so often, partially because I'm a very expressive person. And so I think that people kind of get a kick out of teasing me because they think it's funny the way I react. And I had to kind of train myself not to react in that way because it's very hurtful. And so joking, insulting your appearance, I was shocked the first time that he told me that he thought I had put on weight because I had not. And belittling your accomplishments. He would often kind of talk shit about the fact that I went to NYU because like he thought NYU wasn't a top tier university, which it actually is. And he would just like fit in. It's just stupid, pushing your buttons. These men know exactly what to say to to get to us. And let's go on. Control and shame.
Mhm.
That's kind of obvious. Accusing, blaming, and denial. Emotional neglect and isolation. So isolation is somewhat obvious. This is kind of a standard red flag in abuse, that before you know it, you're not having any contact with your close friends, sometimes with your family. You're living in another country. You're living out in Lakewood, away from all of your friends. They talk you into doing these things, and then they're not really there for you. I can't really think of a time when I was really going through it that I relied on him, or that I may have even told him about it. I knew he wasn't going to do shit for me. He would probably turn it around to make it about him somehow.
Right. That's the same with MR, of turning it back around.
Yeah.
And as you were going through the signs of like unhealthy relationship and abuse and everything, what came up for me is just how many times MR would like hold that over my head. Any little situation, we could get into even sexual coercion kind of stuff if we even want to go that far. But just, like, well, I love your body. Like you're talking about body image. Like he's just like, I love your body and I love all these things about you, but why can't you like have sex with me, sort of thing? Is that getting too much?
No, it's not at all. I mean, I had
weeds?
lots of sexual coercion as well. Yeah, times that I was actually even forced to do it, and then afterwards saying, "Oh, I didn't realize that you didn't want it." And I'm like, "Well, I said no." Yeah, no, and that, in fact, that could be an entire episode if we want to get like that raw, like maybe how that shows up. MR, turning it about him, and rather than maybe talking about your needs and why it is that you aren't necessarily being physically intimate and what maybe is happening for you, like, you owe this to me, which I remember you telling me that it would really be like, why won't you give this to me? Me.
Yes.
Rather than intimacy issues in relationships. And instead of trying to show up for your partner and talk through it, just like, why are you doing this to me? So thank you so much for sharing that. That is a big part of all of this, I think. And it becomes, the thing is though, when someone is treating you like this, even in between when they're treating you really nicely, it's really hard to want to be intimate with someone who you're scared of or walking on eggshells with or have bad memories of. It's almost impossible sometimes.
Well, and just the sheer like fact of us having arguments so often, and like that adds to the safety piece, right? And like started feeling just guilty that I wasn't intimate with him. Like I just kept feeling like I had to keep explaining myself, of just like my own body image, and then trying to hide from him that it was like, I feel like he would have gotten defensive over that as well if I had communicated to him, hey, I actually don't feel safe to like have sex with you.
And you're not doing anything to get me in the mood. You're just expecting me to just be there and be excited about this. I remember in my marriage, I would, in the last year especially, it was getting so bad. I would actually kind of time it so that I would go into the bedroom an hour or so before I knew that he was going to want to, so that I'd be asleep, or at least pretending that I was asleep by the time he got in there. Because the trust was gone, and it's really, really hard to actually enjoy yourself sexually when you feel that that's all there is, I suppose, and that you haven't been connecting during the day, you haven't been connecting through the week. What are you supposed to do? And I love too that some of these men, we keep on saying men, but I suppose people are so self-centered that they would think, I guess, that the sexual experience is mostly for them and their pleasure and about them, rather than the fact that it's two-way union and connection that's meant to happen. And also that maybe you might not be enjoying it.
Exactly. And I mean, MR would say I should have communicated more directly all the time, but I didn't feel safe really to do that or understood or trusted to say those things.
So that's accusing, that is blaming, and absolute denial all in one.
But I was in the same shoes as you, Janice, similar with just like pretending like I was asleep. And he would even get pissed at that the next day. Like he would pout or literally like not text me back, like withhold. Like I know his texting style and I know his communication style.
Yeah.
And not that I was taking that for granted, but it's just something that was understood knowing him for a while. And I would notice like that he would just stop texting me because if the night before I pretended to be asleep or I was actually asleep or I fell asleep or whatever that might have looked like and wasn't intimate, it was me not directly communicating to him, which how much of a mindfuck is that of saying I'm not directly communicating, but then being passive aggressive of not texting me back over the most simplest of things the next day.
That's one of the big signs. Negative communication. Very manipulative. That is so manipulative. And, punishing. When you're upset with someone, it's time for a conversation. Yes. It's not time to punish the person as much as you can. Because I know that happened in my marriage as well. My ex would give me the silent treatment. That's horribly abusive, and it was absolute torture. But I have to say, after like even a couple days, it was insane. Wow. He would like act like I wasn't in the room. I feel like worked up even thinking about it. And after a couple days, I would totally be like, what do I need to do? I can't live like this anymore. Because you can't. You get punished to the point where you'll do anything to just stop the agony.
Exactly. And that turned into the bowing down to him sort of thing, right? Of just like trying to make the peace.
Yes.
So you're just saying whatever you can to make him feel heard or seen or valued while you're devaluing yourself. It feels like I can think about that after the fact, right?
Yeah.
I just felt like I really didn't feel that way in the moment, but I just pushed through it because it was going to make things easier or better for him.
Well, and easier for you. I mean, when someone's treating you like that, I mean, when someone's giving you the silent treatment or someone's ignoring your texts or making it miserable for you to come home, I mean, you might be compelled to just, do whatever. I mean, you're living, I mean, this is our home as well. You should be safe and happy to go back there. And when someone robs you of that because they're pissed off at you, where are you supposed to go? What were our breaking points? I know that you have a couple. What are you comfortable sharing as far as these moments of like, okay, this isn't going to work. I need to get the fuck out.
I can go into it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is very healing for me, Janice. So thanks for having me a part of this. I was saying earlier about the table, kind of mid in our relationship, right, of slamming down that phone and cracking up the table and all of that. I had an aversion to that given my childhood as I was, exactly. Yeah, just given my childhood and experiences. And I was like, oh, no, I just can't deal with this. But I would say last December, so fairly recently, before the breakup, we were having an argument and it got to the point of him punching the door, putting a crack in the door. So not hitting me, but hitting an object around me, near me, out of anger. And then he said that I was a broke moron.
Oh my God, that is so horrible. How do you possibly come back from that?
Like even right now, I just almost went out of breath just thinking that I just sat in that even for a few months after
don't
made that comment.
Grace. You were living with this man. You guys have been together for kind of a long time.
Yes.
Also, how shocking. Like, how do you process that so quickly?
Yeah. Well, my processing is just bawling my eyes out, going in the shower and just feeling just so worthless, just feeling, what did it take? It took nothing for him to say those words out of his mouth and to
Oh,
think that
yeah.
about me.
What a good point. Mm-hmm.
And that's just what I struggled with. It's just, like I remember being in the shower and just crying, but like having flashbacks to like the beginning of our relationship and sort of those like movie moments that you see, right? That capture like flashbacks into different times that were better. And I was like, how the fuck did we get to this? And he's
Mm-hmm.
calling me these names that I just can't even believe, out of a used to be friend, that
Yeah.
good friend,
Mm-hmm.
to now lover. It's just feels this way about me, that has gotten to this much resentment against me, is what that felt like. My whole being. Yeah, that was my, I would say, my breaking point. After the fact, I did actually hold it in for a couple months after he said that to me. I didn't share it with friends or anything, not even Janice, who I'm closest with. Like,
Eventually, but it had been a
yes,
while that it
it
had
had,
happened before you told me.
yes, because I
Mm-hmm.
was also like just embarrassed that that was said to me. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that I could still be with a person to that degree, that point in time, that they could be that way to me. So I finally told my therapist probably in January. And after telling my therapist, I came out, in maybe February time of
Yeah.
telling you
Mm-hmm.
and telling a couple other close friends at that point in time as well. And it was so freeing to let it out and to then get to the point to where I was done. I was just like, I can't live with someone that thinks I'm a broke moron, no matter how much he apologized for saying that. That to me was very irreparable.
Good for
Um,
you. And I mean, it's
yes.
not as though it was going to be the last time. That's so cruel. And yes, to just kind of put it out there in the middle of a fight. Oh my God, what a horrible thing to hear. I'm so sorry. I'm so glad that you got out. I also was dealing with constant insults. The alcoholism got worse, and it was just all the time. One night, he called me an idiot. I don't even remember why. We were walking around and he tripped, and I like put the bottles, of course, of his alcohol down to go and help him. And yeah, he's like, "You idiot." And it was just constant. Obviously, the physical abuse played into this. I mean, I'll just say there was physical abuse. I don't need to go into how it escalated. Lots of threats of just various
Mhm.
types, just constant instability, constant anger. And so when the cycle of abuse, there's, the incident, like I said, and then the recovery, then the honeymoon period and the incident. And the periods in between the abusive incidents just became shorter and shorter and
Mhm.
shorter. And like I said, I wasn't eating. It was absolutely miserable. And then there was kind of like the big thing that happened where I don't know, you get the cops involved and it's kind of hard to come back from that. And yes, I finally was able to leave. We kind of stayed in touch for a little while, which I think was your situation as well.
Mhm.
And that is because I didn't have a lot of support. I'd been with him as one of my only friends for so long. And so we did kind of keep in touch for a little while. But the better my life got, you finally do realize how fucked up it had gotten
Right.
and how much more you deserve. And along those lines, let's talk about what people did in our lives that helped or hurt. Let's
Mhm.
start with what people did that hurt. And I will say, I had really exhausted my support system. I was extremely isolated from friends who I had had for years. I was physically away from them. And I became so embarrassed about the situation that I really stopped communicating with people. I mean, how do you tell someone that you're staying with someone who's, abusing you multiple times a week? I just stopped talking with people. And I will say A few people were there for me when I left, and a lot of people were like, well, you said you were going to leave already. People had moved on, which I actually kind of understand. That's partially why I'm a breakup coach, because that can happen. But I will say I went and crashed with my parents for a short amount of time, and it was just awful. It was nothing but actual shame, constant victim blaming, constant asking me why, I can't just put it behind me. When am I going to get my own place? What is wrong with you? Don't talk about it anymore. You got yourself into this. You knew he had an alcohol problem. I don't know what you want from us. And just, I actually have to say, and I've said this many times on the show, going and living with them for a short amount of time was almost as bad as being with him. And if I am not kidding, I actually thought whilst I was crashing with them that maybe I should have stayed. So why I'm saying this is, if you have a friend who's in this situation, yeah, you might not talk for a while. There's nothing you can really say or do to make them leave. But once they do, just be there for them.
That's our story.
Well, thank you.
But I will say, like, maybe about him texting me after breaking up and trying.
Okay, we need to focus on this, because my ex did the same. I got to actually witness this go down with Kelsey and MR. And that is, once you leave, an abusive person can't fucking take it, and they will continue to harass you after often. So what ended up going down with you? And yeah, how did you pull yourself away for the final time?
I guess I could go back a little bit to when I broke up with him officially. We were living together still for like a month's time, and how he was like backpedaling. Like, I had mentioned therapy to him months ago before that, like for us to seek couples therapy together.
Aww.
And
you know what?
he sort
it
of
is so often the one who's being mistreated who fucking suggests couples therapy. Okay, if anyone out there agrees with me, please send me a DM, because that is true.
Yeah. Well, I feel that.
Yeah, that was me in my marriage. I am seriously in absolute misery, and I'm the one asking for it. And you know what? Once we got there, he told the therapist that everything was my fault. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but please go on.
Of course he did.
Mm-hmm.
No, so I had mentioned that months ago at that point, and actually, sadly, earlier in our relationship, I would say, when we were living in Lakewood, I had brought it up, and he had like laughed it off a little bit, because he was like, oh, we're still so new in our like relationship and all these things, just like brushing it off sort of thing.
Yeah, if this is the honeymoon phase, fuck.
Don't sign me up for this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So after I had mentioned that, he then months later is backpedaling in our breakup and is just, oh, what about therapy, Kels? What about therapy? He's like, I know you had mentioned it before and all the things, but what about now, sort of thing. And I was just like, kind of too little too late sort of feeling. And as much as that hurt me still, of saying those words, because it meant that I was giving up on a person, right? And just feeling like I needed to give up on him.
Giving up on a person, but showing up for yourself. Like, whoa.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So fast forward to what, Janice, maybe a couple weeks after that, like I've moved into my new place, my studio, my little studio that's behind me here as we're doing the podcast. Sorry.
I mean, you guys, she decided to leave. And when she made up her mind, she was like, boom, told him, went out and got an apartment. Like, I think even the next week after you told him that it was over, you just went, you executed all of these things so that you would have somewhere to go. She has a great apartment and a great building. And you know what's really cool? She's back over in the same neighborhood where she was before this man took over her life. I mean,
Yes.
it's so
Yes.
exciting. She lives 2
Yes.
blocks away from me. We're having the
Yeah.
best time. Yeah, and you really were just boom, I'm out, which still impresses me so much because I didn't do that.
And
Not by a
I
long shot.
and I do want to acknowledge in this moment too, like how privileged that is as well to like
Yes,
be
yeah.
able to find a place so quickly, be able to, the security deposit, all those things, and to have some support from my fabulous grandpa that I love dearly, that's been able to help me and stuff as well.
Papa.
Papa, yes, exactly. I feel so fortunate that I was able to run like hell out of the situation and get into my own place. But it didn't stop there. So a couple weeks or maybe even a week into living in my new place, I
Yep.
get a text message, phone call to call him back. I see this and I'm just feeling so anxious. I'm feeling restless. I'm like pacing around my apartment, cleaning up things, everything. And I did take a phone call from him, and he was just, I know before, Kelsey, you said we could be friends sort of thing after the breakup. And can you come over to my,
Right.
apartment? And
He wanted you guys to have a movie night.
a movie night. Exactly. Exactly. So I having this conversation and I'm just so uncomfortable. And he also had like 3 questions to follow that, that even made me even more uncomfortable. So that happens. And then a week later goes by, which Janice is nodding her head because at this point, I'm actually on the phone with Janice, just talking,
right.
having girl talk, all the things. And I get a call from him as I'm on the phone with her out of the blue. And then he texts me right after that. Again, just showing you how like quick he is responding and expecting responses and all of that. I text him back and I'm like, I can't talk. Everything okay? What's going on? And the only reason I'm continuing communication at this point is for practical reasons of just if our security deposit comes through, if I'm going to get any of that, or if there's any mistakes or anything that happened from our previous apartment. He then blows up my phone. I could read off some of the text, but I'll just leave that alone. But yeah,
so
he's
manipulative. And
Yeah.
I loved how like every text that he sent, it was a question so that you'd really feel compelled to answer. Otherwise, you're ignoring him. And even when you're like, I can't talk right now, he's still just going on sending questions. Like, does this make sense? Do you care? Like,
what he started off with, you all, is that it was like, is this hard for you?
Oh my God, right.
I just keep telling him, and I'm like, I don't think this is healthy for us to talk. Like, what do you say? I'm not one to like beat someone up when they're already down. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to say that, oh yeah, I'm flourishing while you're feeling like shit, as much as I really want to say that. He just keeps on with like paragraph text messages of things, and I just try to keep coming back, which luckily I was on the phone with Janice. She's my superhero in all of this, of just like talking to me at the same time and not telling me what to say, but she's like, oh, Kels, stand your ground, say to what's true to you of what you want to say. I, message him back of just saying, this just really isn't healthy for us to talk about this together. I know you have friends, find support there, therapy, all the things. Can't talk about this anymore. And I need you to stop talking with me, which you all, that's the hardest thing, especially for someone, like I said in the beginning, that was just super on my emotional wavelength. Like I thought he just cared so much about me, and to just let him down like that, of just completely throwing him away, quote unquote. I struggled with that, but I felt so much better in saying those words. I can't talk about this anymore. I need you to stop communicating with me. And
for you.
luckily that has happened so far and stayed that
Yeah.
way. So,
Would you
and
say that having no contact was one of the things that most helped you heal? And if not, what did help you heal the most?
yeah, great question. I think no contact really has helped me heal because if he were to still be like reaching out to me, like that's just stressful dealing with that. Because I'm not in the same place as him, obviously, and where I'm at. And that's not to say that like some days aren't more challenging. I think about like whenever I've been sick here lately or something, and how nice it was to have him like bring me soup or like go buy me things and things like that. I think of little things like that. Yeah, I would say if he kept communicating with me, that would have made the wound even deeper with this breakup and put me through way more stress. Though,
Yeah, I am glad for that. And I also
yeah.
I was really surprised. I am really surprised that he left you alone. I think it was a big blow to his ego that you were actually like, I am done. Well done. No contact for me helped a lot after my marriage and after this highly abusive situation. I really do think when you're leaving a bad relationship that is the only, I mean, you have to have no contact. That is my opinion. I understand people have kids, practical reasons, but it's really, really good to move in that direction. I wrote a lot in my journal about instances with this person and got really, really clear on the reality of things. I actually, yeah, this isn't accessible to everyone, and so I kind of hesitate to say this, but I ended up moving to Australia after things failed to get better with my parents. I had an opportunity to go over there, ended up going from 1 month to 5 years. What was good for me is meeting new people. So I think regardless if you go to another country or not, try and get out there. I got involved in activities. I got to know people who did not know me as a survivor, who did not know me as a friend, who had gone back to this monster 5 times. And that was really great. I just kind of felt like people just got to know me for me. I got really involved in five rhythms dancing, which was very, very
Lovely.
healing. It was great. And I did kind of come back to the essence of myself, started enjoying life again. I would say that those were the big things for me. I went on a lot of walks and did take me a while. I really felt whittled down. I had a hard time eating still for months. I did think about it every day, and then I stopped thinking about it. And this is one reason why it's been hard for me to talk about publicly, because I never wanted to make my identity as a survivor. And so there was a number of years. I actually had friends in Melbourne who knew me for a couple of years who I'd never voiced any of this to, because I was so nervous about making, like I said, my identity about this. Also, after being around people who didn't validate me at all, I was actually worried that people weren't going to believe me. And also because the story was so extreme, I just kind of kept it to myself. And in a way that was good. However, it stays with you. And so I am really glad that I have a platform where I can talk about it. It took me a little while though.
I love that for you. And I resonate as well, just in a different way of moving back to the neighborhood that I was like taken away from too. Like just having that support from people and just things that are familiar. So opposite.
Yeah.
Opposite of
But still coming back to the essence of yourself. I mean,
yes.
you are a part of this neighborhood. My God, I can't think of anything better for you than to just come back home, really.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Kels, I'm so glad that we did this. I would love to have you on again. Let's think of some ideas. Yeah, I'm really happy you got out. And seriously, to anyone listening, if it's not working, if you're resonating with any of this, if you can put a plan together, just leave. And I know that is so easy to say. And I want to say this is coming from someone who did not leave. Just do what you can. Like what I told Kelsey, I remember the moment you told me you were thinking about leaving, I said, you will never regret this. You will
Yes.
never regret just picking up and going.
Best words that you could have ever said. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. If anyone is going through any of this, my heart goes out to you. I'm sending you so much strength. I'll put a bunch of resources. If you have a question about dating, relationships, non-monogamy, healthy communication, secure attachment, send them to me, email, get into my DMs on Instagram. I really want to read some questions, some listener questions on the air. I want to involve my listeners more. And I have brand new coaching packages, coaching for single women, coaching for anybody who wants to become more securely attached, and coaching for people going through breakups. So hit me up. I have beta testing discounts going on right now. Kelsey, I'm so thankful for you. I'm thankful for Ritual for being there. You guys, it is so nice to have a neighborhood spot where people congregate. And I totally know a lot of people listening don't have that. But if you do, make it your third space. Get out there and get to know the people in your community. It's paid off for me in dividends. I love you so much.
I love you so much. Thank you for this. This is just so healing right now.
Yeah, I can tell. We both have huge smiles on our faces. It can be really cathartic. Talk about this to someone. Talk to a counselor. Talk to a pastor. Something I was going to say that really helped me is because I had been with an alcoholic for so long, I did realize that I had some codependent tendencies, which is I really wanted to look after him, care for him, sacrifice everything as far as my own well-being went in the hopes that the relationship would be better. That's very codependent. And so I actually went to Codependence Anonymous for a while. I really dedicated myself to working through all of that. Certainly don't have those tendencies today, I assure you. But as far as what helped, that was very useful for me. I went to a Codependence Anonymous women's only group for a while, and everybody just gets to share what they're going through. And because I was in an environment at my parents' house where nobody wanted to listen, that was very useful. So I want to kind of put that out there. Codependence Anonymous is an amazing program. It's very positive. It's very much geared towards getting you out of these patterns and tendencies. So, and I will put information about Codependence Anonymous also in the show notes. I think that this is good. We really took a deep dive into this. You feeling great?
Yeah. All I wanted to say to add on is that find you a Janice out there if you don't already have a Janice. And because like I was talking about with the not communicating piece, like having other people, supportive, loving humans around you is just, it makes the difference between connecting back with that not so great relationship. So.
And be a Janice, I suppose. If your friend's going through this, be a safe place for them to land when they do need someone to talk to and when they do decide to leave. You might be the game changer that allows someone and that encourages them to actually separate themselves from a pretty shitty situation. And yeah, you might lose touch with some people while they're going through it. But if they know that someone is there for you, yeah, it might be the final thing that they need. It's really hard to remove yourself from this and think like, what is next? Like, no one is there for me. Don't know how I'm going to support myself. Just be there for people. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Kelsey, for being so vulnerable. Well done leaving this. And I will see everybody next week.
I'll see you soon, right down the street.
Yeah, let's go do it. Thank you for listening to Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On with Janice Formicella. I sincerely hope that you found today's episode inspirational or useful. I would love to support you on your healing journey. All you have to do is send me a message on Instagram at Breakups Podcast or email me at breakupspodcast@gmail.com, and I will be in touch to get you started. Remember, if you are struggling with a broken heart, your feelings are temporary. I am sending you so much love and luck for the week ahead. You've got this.